Hi everyone, welcome to this video series in which we introduce beginners to programming with bite-sized concepts. Before we jump into the programming course, start setting things up and do some actual coding, let's talk about why we write programs.
The answer is pretty simple, but please check out the previous video about how computers store data for a clear understanding of this section. I will add a link to it at the top and in the description. Now let us get back to the question why we write programs. We know that computers are powerful machines that need to perform four types of functions, which are input, storage, processing, and output, right? Now, the problem is that the computer is like a super powerful baby that does not know what to do with all this power. So, as adults, we need to provide it clear instructions to do things so that it can follow them and help us achieve our goals. Now, what are programs? Programs are a collection of instructions that a computer can understand. So we create programs by writing code to tell the computer when to do this and how to do this. Each unit of code is like part of an instruction to do something, like take an input, store it somewhere, or add two numbers, etc. The complete set of instructions that can achieve a particular job is called a program. For example, a program to manage your phone contacts will consist of instructions like input name, phone number, etc., store it in memory, show them on screen when a button is pressed, so on and so forth. Now, this is very ambiguous, right? No one is going to ask you if a set of instructions qualifies to be a program. This is just pretty linguistics so that we understand where we are talking amongst ourselves as programmers. I hope I was able to present the idea, which is what is a program, what is code, and how they interrelate with each other. And if there are any questions, please do let me know in the comments. I will try to clarify it further in another video sometime in the future. Maybe. Okay, great. So now let's take an example. We can tell the computer to request the user to enter their name, store it, and then show them a welcome message on the screen. For all this, we will give the computer some instructions and that's it. Remember that we discussed that all the data in memory is stored in boxes by putting some charge in that. We are not going to do any of that. We will tell the computer take an input and store it in a specific box. The computer will do all of this for us. So let us see this in action, okay? Just as a demonstration. I am going to use a tool to demonstrate this. In the future, we will keep this example, we will take it apart, we will analyze it bit by bit. For now, I just want to demystify the fear around programming, that it's nothing very scary or very complicated or something like that, and show you that how we learned in the previous videos can be done very quickly, like what you see in the example on the screen. Now again, if there are any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'll be very happy to elaborate. Okay, so if you can see my screen, I have an editor open. This is called Funny, and this is very good for beginners for demonstration purposes as well. So I will show a few things. You don't need to understand all of them right now. And okay, so let's get started. So first, I would like to discuss about the memory boxes, right? So let's say you went to the shop and you bought 10 apples and 5 mangoes and you want to store it in the computer, right? So how we can store it is we can tell the computer that hey, this is 5 and store it in a box and then label the box saying I am storing the number of apples here. So what I am going to do is I'll first enter the label number of mangoes and then I will say equals 5 and that's it. So let's do apples as well. I think I confused between mangoes and apples, but anyway, number of apples equals, we got 10 apples, right? Then let's do something like say total number of fruits. Total number of fruits is a sum of the number of apples I got and the number of mangoes I got. Okay. Now you don't need to understand anything till now. Now note carefully what happens in this variables window. Okay. So I'm going to run it. Now these lines are instructions, right? I am instructing the computer to store 5 in a memory box and remember the memory box by the name number of mangoes. Similarly, I am asking it to store the number 10 in a memory box and asking the computer to remember number of apples. Now with Python, that programming language I'm using right now, here you can run these lines one by one. So the computer will take the first line, execute it or follow this instruction, and then it will go to the second line, follow this instruction, then it will go to the third line which is blank, so skip it, and then it will go to the fourth line and follow this instruction. Okay, so right now it is highlighting the yellow line, which means that next this yellow line will be followed. The instruction in this line will be followed now. So if I tell you to follow the instruction of the current line, you see here that it has created a memory box for me which says his name is number of mangoes and the value inside that box is 5. So for the next instruction, similarly the name of the box should be number of apples and the value should be 10, right? So I will run one more line of instruction. The computer follows the instruction and creates number of apples. Okay, and note that the order of the names here is alphabetically, so A comes first, so that's why it's there at the top. Okay, it does not matter to us which box the computer chooses to store our value, as long as we can remember which box it was, right? So you can store, the computer might choose to store the number 10 at the last box and the number 5 at the first box, but it doesn't matter to us. We will tell the computer next here in this instruction that, hey computer, there was a box where you stored a value and we named it number of apples. Take that value out and add it with the value inside the box which we named as number of mangoes. So it should basically take out the first part, will take the value out of this box, which should be 10, and then the second part will take the value out of this box and it will be 5. Then I am saying total number of fruits equals to number of apples, which will be 10, and number of mangoes, which will be 5, and then I am telling it to store the sum of these two numbers in a new box called total number of fruits. So if I run this line, you'll note here that there will be a new box which is called total number of fruits and it's storing the numbers 10, 5, 15, right? So it's as simple as that. Okay, and now I will quickly show you how we can take the input thingy and the example we discussed. So let's talk about that. Okay, and next, instead of numbers, you can also store stuff like someone's name, for example favorite YouTuber. Okay, and here you can say that your favorite YouTuber is Abhishek, of course, right? Don't break my heart. Okay. Okay, so again, if I run this from the beginning, we know what happens. We have number of mangoes, number of apples, number of fruits and stuff. Now if I run this line, if I execute this line, okay, you see you have favorite YouTuber and now you have Abhishek Madhu, but you see these quotation marks are also present in the value, right? In the value of the box. This means that the content inside is string or a collection of characters like A, B, H from the alphabet and stuff like that. And if these are not there, it means it is a number, and we'll talk about it in really great details. Okay, we'll have one dedicated video for each of these. Okay, for this, and all other, these are called data types, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so now let's go back to our example that we talked about, where we will take an input, right? We will ask the user to enter their name. So what I will do is I will ask the user to input, right? So I will use the input command, and I in the prompt I will say please enter your name, right? And when the user enters the name, I will put it in a box called name. So that's how I do it. So this part will only prompt the user to enter their name, but it will not save it anywhere. But this will put it. Clearly you can see that this equal sign is involved with saving stuff or putting something in a box and then naming it, right? You can see from these examples, right? Okay, so the name I add, and then what I will do is I will run some magic. Okay, this line is magic line, and let me tell you what it does. So I will extract the first name from the name. Okay, so I will do name dot split, and what I'm going to do is I will break the name at a blank. So see, I gave a blank here. This means that I am breaking the name in a blank and I am taking the first part, and this is magic for now. Okay, this line is magic line, you don't need to think about it right now. So we talked about input, right? Remember the 4 steps we talked about: input, and then we are storing, and then we are doing some processing, magic processing, and then we are storing it again in first name, and then now we have to talk about what? The output, right? Yeah. So the output command in this programming language Python is print. So let's start with printing just the first name, okay, to see if we are doing everything correctly. And I will line by line run this. So when I run the first line, you see this got disabled, but the first line has not finished executing because I am telling it to do 2 things in this line. First, I'm telling it to take an input from user, and then I'm telling it to save it in the name. Now, this side is going to execute first, obviously. Like before it can take an input, how can it store it somewhere? Okay, so if you see here, it says please enter your name. Exact same message that I put in here, right? So what I will do is I will put my name, Steve Jobs. That's not my name, but anyway. And as soon as I press enter, see this line gets executed, and in the name box, the box whose name is name, we put Steve Jobs, right? And then when we run this line, the third line, because the second one is empty, you will see first name is just Steve's. So I'm breaking the Steve Jobs magically, and I'm taking the first part, right? And then when I try to output it on the screen, by default, I said output, but not where. Did I ask it to output, in my car's monitor or somewhere else? No. So by default, the computer will output to this shell or the output screen here. So if I run the last line, you see, it says Steve. Now, of course, you can do some more processing. For example, I will show you one more magic, right? I will write hello, and I will put it in this magic curly braces. These are magic braces, okay? So I will do this, and at the end I will do add 3 exclamation marks just for fun. Now what the computer will do is it will ask for the name again. So let me do that. Now I will run one line and it will ask for my name, and I will say John Snow. Okay, and as soon as I press enter, you see Jon Snow is saved. Okay, that's cool. And then I will go over one more line, and now I will have John as first name, right? Cool. And then if you notice, last time it printed only Steve, this time it will print hello John. So you see this is very simple, right? There is nothing very complex, right? There are a few things which are called semantics and syntax. For example, you need to know that input takes input. Of course, it makes sense that input takes input, and print something on the screen. Okay, and Similarly, this equals operator is used to save stuff, and as you go over this repeatedly for say 2 months, these will be, you will remember these in 2 days, right? You will remember this in a day, and then if you want to go into more complex, this is not magic, to be honest, right? This is a little bit complex processing, and you will learn this through practice in say a week. This is nothing difficult, everything is pretty simple, and everything we talk about from here, if you understand this, everything is downhill, which means that everything is easier than what we learned here. Okay.
Thank you for joining. See you in the next video.